Hey, how are you getting on? It's low drag coefficient Brown, and today I want to show you the Plexcalibur pedal from Human. So if you would have guessed that the Plexcalibur is a distortion pedal, you would have guessed correctly. And if you'd asked me a year ago if I'd be interested in demoing a distortion pedal, I probably would have said, nah, I'm good. Because I didn't really believe in distortion pedals, but that assessment came from a place of ignorance because the last experience I had was probably with pretty mediocre distortion pedals, and it was, how many years is 2009 ago? Good Lord. Anyway, last year I had the chance to play some contemporary distortion pedals and realized that I was full of crap because they sounded excellent. So I changed my mind about distortion pedals. And when Connor at Human asked me if I'd be interested in testing out the Plexcalibur pedal, I said yes. But not only because of my newfound perspective on distortion pedals, but also because Human hold a special place in my heart because they were the first people to ever send me anything on YouTube. And that thing was the Amp Driver OD pedal, which is one of my favorite pedals to boost amps with. And I believe I'm keeping this pedal, so this means that this video is paid promotion, and you need to know that. But also, I'm anything but biased. I like Connor at Human. I get along well with him. He's very knowledgeable on amps. I like to nerd out with him. You should know that. I consider him a buddy. These are things that you should know, but if a friend sends me something and it doesn't sound good, like a true friend, I send that friend back to work. And I didn't. I like this pedal. And as the name implies, Plexcalibur, it's based on hot-rodded plexis. That's the tone it tries to achieve. So we're looking at tones kind of situated in the 80s, but I find it does a lot more. It does a lot more gain than that if you wanted to, and I wanted to. What I'm going to do is, first of all, use it as intended by the creator as a distortion pedal going into a clean channel. I chose the Lichtlaerm Audio Prometheus for that. For one thing, because it has two different clean channel voicings. I will use that feature to show you while my OCD brain still makes me feel a little uneasy about demonstrating distortion pedals. And the other thing is it has a preamp bypass switch, which allows us to tap straight into the power amp and use this as not intended by the creator as a preamp. To finish things off, I want to compare it to my Marshall JCM 2000 DSL there, which is unfortunately the closest thing I have to a hot-rodded plexi, and I can hear the actually guys getting worked up already. I'm sorry, I don't have anything closer to that. I know it's not a hot-rodded plexi, it's different, but if you're not happy with that, why don't you use one of my affiliate links down below to make me afford a hot-rodded plexi. Oh, smooth, wasn't it? I'll get this YouTube thing down slowly. Anyway, I'll be using that fancy KHE amp switcher array there. LED 1 for the amplifiers is the Plexcalibur with the Prometheus clean channel, and LED 2 for the amplifiers will be the JCM 2000. Occasionally, I'll also be using a boost, which will be the Amp Driver pedal, also from Human, and that sits in front of the KHE switcher, so it will affect both the Plexcalibur pedal and the JCM 2000. We're going to go through the settings in a sec, but this is how I like it. So let's switch this off for a sec. This is how the clean channel sounds. I've got it on the brilliant voicing for the moment, and the controls are pretty simple. We have a gain knob that regulates the gain. It sets the amount of distortion. I'm a professional, A tone knob, which sets the tone. So all the way over here is dark. All the way to the other side is pretty bright. We have a second EQ knob, which is the presence, which affects the high end a bit. A volume knob. We have two foot switches. We can turn it on and off. and we can switch in an additional boost. The boost doesn't act like a front-end boost like the distortion pedal would, but it switches in another gain stage, and I think behind the rest of the circuit here. You will hear that in a sec. We have two switches here, focus and tight, the same as on the amp driver pedal. What that does, it filters the tone, I think, before the gain stage is a bit. I'm speculating here, it could be wrong, but it scoops out a lot of low end. And if we click in the tight switch as well, it increases that effect. It gets more drastic. It scoops out more low end. It gets even tighter, as the name of the switch implies. The tight switch only works if the focus is engaged. It doesn't work by itself. So let's just switch it on. Boost is off. Let's turn off the focus, set everything to noon here, and lower the gain. Nice crunchy tone. Let's up the gain a bit and see what that does. So it's already pretty gainy. You can feel and hear a lot of low end coming in. Let's up that even more. And if we switch in the focus, takes out a lot of the low end. If we add in the tight, it gets a little too thin for me there. I just like the focus in. Let's add the boost to that. If we take the focus out, you'll notice it gets very saggy and saturated. A bit how you would expect it from a 800-ish or maybe before that Marshall. When you crank up the gain, Marshalls, I find, they get kind of flubby once you reach a certain threshold on the gain. So with the gain on the pedal high and the onboard boost on, I like to engage the focus because it gives me a more pleasant tone, I find. I don't know about you, but to me that sounds higher gain than hot rodded 80s metal. Let's check out what the EQ does. The tone. So as you can hear, that's quite a range. It can get very dark and very smooth sounding, and it can get very abrasive. And one might think that having just a tone knob instead of a 3 or 4 band EQ on a pedal like this might be a little limiting. I don't find that at all, for one thing, because it's designed to interact with the EQ of the amplifier. And I think I'm perfectly happy with that range. And I'll show you in a minute why I'm a little uneasy demonstrating distortion pedals, because There's one parameter that is really hard to anticipate or to assess, and that is the clean channel of the amplifier. And I'll show you here in a sec. Let's turn off the pedal for a sec and check out the clean channel on the Prometheus. It has two voices. One is the brilliant one, nice and sparkly, and the other one is the warmth, which is nice and smooth. And the differences may sound subtle when it's just a clean channel, but when we engage the Plexcalibur, you'll hear a significant difference. So this is roughly an EQ I like. I'm going to switch to the warm voicing on the clean channel now. And all the high end is gone. It disappears completely. And we really have to crank the controls to get a similar level of brightness. I'm going to switch back to brilliant mode, prepare for super abrasive sounds. Yeah, awful. So the EQ on the pedal is perfectly capable. It's powerful enough. I don't miss a multi-band EQ. Let's dial the presence a bit and see how that affects it. The presence is another option we have to add in some more high end without it sounding too abrasive. I think the presence this time actually sounds quite nice. It's bright, but it doesn't hurt my ears. So I'm going to turn off the onboard boost now. And before we move on to the shooter, I just want to see how it behaves with a front end boost, with the amp driver. I've got the amp driver set up the way I would boost most high gain amps. I have the pulse gain on, focus on, tight off. Volume fairly high, gain low, and the EQ's a little low as well. So this is without a boost. So not unlike an amp, very similar in fact. Let's add in the boost on the pedal. Let's see how that is. There's plenty of distortion. Let's remove the focus, make it a bit fatter. Yeah, I think this pedal is a lot of fun. Let's switch this off and compare the amp driver to the Marshall JCM 2000 DSL. So, no boost on. This is the Marshall JCM 2000. Immediately I notice more low end, and that is the one minor problem I have with the JCM 2000. It's one of my favorite amps, my favorite Marshall, but the fact that it only has that deep switch can be a little problematic, because without the deep switch engaged, it sounds a little thin, and with the deep switch engaged, it's a bit too thick. They fixed that on the reissues where they added a resonance knob. The reissues are great amps, by the way. I used to have a DSL 100H as well. It sounded very close to this amp, and I only kept this one for sentimental reasons, not for logical reasons. Anyway, let's compare the JCM 2000 to the Plexcalibur pedal. And just to be clear, the idea is not that the Plexcalibur should sound exactly the same as the Marshall or remarkably close, but to give you a reference to judge the pedal by. So. So I don't hear a tremendous difference in tonal quality. The pedal is a little tighter, a little more responsive. The amp is a tiny bit smoother, and it has more low end, too much low end, I find. Personally, I prefer the pedal into the Lichtlaerm over the Marshall for this. Let's see though what happens if we add a boost in the form of the amp driver, which should tighten up the Marshall a good bit. Let's see if that levels the playing field a bit. So that was the Ultra channel on the Marshall, which is the higher gain channel. It also has a classic gain channel. I want to try that too. Pretty close in the room. Let's add a boost to that. I forgot one thing I wanted to do, and that was use the Plexcalibur not as the creator had intended, as a preamp. So I'm just going to switch on the preamp defeat on the Prometheus. Yes, and that makes it much darker. Let's see if we can get some brightness. I also need more volume. Nah, I can't quite get there. It doesn't really work as a preamp. Not with the Lichtlaerm audio from Prometheus at least. Let me switch that off. I'm getting too noisy here. And I think that concludes the video. Let me know what you think of the Plexcalibur pedal down in the comments below. As for me, I was a little bit surprised by how much I actually liked it. I was expecting to enjoy the pedal because I know Connor builds good stuff. And I'm a fan of 80s music. I like pretty much any music that comes out of the 80s. I just love the vibes. But for my own casual, recreational playing, when I play guitar, I usually prefer more contemporary sounds than what I expect an 80s amp or an 80s pedal to deliver. But I found this pedal delivers more. Like, I don't find myself looking for more gain. It delivers all the gain I want. And it has, through the focus and tight switches, it really has the ability to shape the tone or the response of the pedal to one's liking. And I know that was subjective again. I'm not objective. I told you I'm biased. Just so take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you want to know more about the pedal, check out Human's website. If you want to support me, consider becoming a Patreon. That's where I upload IRs for the speakers I demo, or using one of the affiliate links down in the description below. I'm a Sweetwater affiliate now. Those guys are very nice to me. So if you want to do me a favor, click that link if you want to buy something in the next 14 days. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope to see you in the next video. We will be resuming lots of speaker videos and test videos soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.